Hello, beautiful souls out there. I hope you're able to get out in nature like Starlight is. And yes, Starlight is out here, out in nature here, enjoying this beautiful weather. Woo! Yes, gotta enjoy it while it's out here. So anyway, if you are new to my YouTube channel, welcome. And you can find me on YouTube, and that is at Starlight. And that is Kathy with a K Dingman. Plus, you could give my videos a thumbs up. And you could subscribe to my YouTube channel. Don't be afraid, don't be shy. Swing by and say hi to Starlight by leaving Starlight a message down below. Beep, beep, beep. And you could share my videos with your family, your friends. Deer, a fawn, plus some fish. Sure, yes, you could share my videos with them. And also you can check out my playlist, plus find me on Instagram at 1995 Starlight, or on Facebook, and that is Kathy with a K Dingman Starlight. So I do want to announce, like, if any of you would love to share your pets, not your husband, not your wife, not those kind of pets, or your children, is, if you got any animal, fuzzy, furry friends, or little lizards or anything like that, yes, those kind of pets. If you would like to share any of your pets or even a short little video, you can by sending those to my Instagram or my Facebook page. Also, website or whatever. And also, thank you. Yes, thank you so much, all of you. Some of you have been watching me before I started my YouTube channel, and I appreciate all of you that are here loving and supporting Starlight. Those of you who have subscribed to my YouTube channel, watch my videos, or leave me a thumbs up, give me a thumbs up, or even leave a comment down below, or even you who leave Starlight a message or even shares my videos. Thank you all. So today we're going to talk about, how do you know when somebody's being honest with you? Hang on, Starlight's just going to turn around. Let's see if this is better lighting here. So how do you know when somebody is being real or not with you? And that is what this is about. It didn't matter anyway. So it's about the energy. And a lot of us focus on what people say. We forget about their actions. Action speaks louder than words. And I have a wonderful friend out there that taught me so many things, about friendships and relationships and stuff like that. So I have learned, as we all do, is the hard way, don't we? I used to go around and tell people is, trust everyone. And then, when they show that I can't trust them, then I don't need to be around with them. But guess what? The damage is already done. So then, you got to protect yourself by, not trusting everybody when you meet them, is to really, yes, hear what they're saying, but words don't mean shit. The action behind what they say and the energy behind what they are saying. So you got to be careful with people out in the world. And I'm so sorry is that this lighting here is, you got to be careful with the people out in the world. And it could be your mom, it could be your dad. How many of you out here can you trust your mom and your dad? I could trust my mom, but I can't trust my dad. I don't trust any of them, Starlight. Starlight, I trust my father more than my mother. Or you might say, I trust them both. They're really honest parents. Well, good for you, but guess what? Not everybody has that. Not everybody has parents that they can trust. Where, you can are they being honest with me, or are they just, saying that, and that's why it's so important to bring our kids up, bring your kids up, if you have kids, by being honest with them and being that example and showing them about being honest and teaching them about why it's so important to be honest. So, teach your children when they're young. Of course, not all parents do this, but the whole thing about parenting is that you got to be the example to your children. If you expect your children to be honest with you, then you got to teach your children to be honest to them. So that's a a big rule for parents is that you got to be that example. If you expect your children not to do that, then you kind of really have to teach them about that. Now, of course, there's a lot of things that adults can do that little kids can't do, so they have to understand there is a difference. But really, we have to be the example to our kids, and teach them by the example that we're being. So how do you tell if somebody's being honest with you and being real? It's not always what they say. It's not always everything that comes out of their mouth. It's also the action, like I said, and their energy. Have you ever gone into a room, and it could be at work. It could be at work. You could be at a place at your job, and, everything was good at the meeting. And then you might go down the hall, you might go to your car, and when you come back where the group is, you're like, something's odd, something's weird, the energy changed, the energy shifted. You're like, how is it that I felt great earlier, and now I come back to the same room with the same people, and the energy shift? That's when, you can actually tell that when that energy shifts, that something's been going on when you were not there and you don't know about it. This can even happen at church. Why not, right? I used to think when I used to go to church a long time ago, I used to think, well, church is where all the perfect people go. That's a joke. That's what I used to think. I'm like, these are the people that got it down. I'm going here. I wanted to learn about Jesus, but I really, 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 I am being honest with you. Now, how can you tell that I'm being honest with you? I am being so honest with you. I thought that's where all the perfect people was, at the church. But wow, wasn't that a wake? Everybody's like, yeah, that was a wake-up call. We all might have had had assumptions about what it was like to go to church, and what our expectations was when, before, especially if you didn't know nothing about church. There's times people have family members that go to church, and then they hear all the gossip and drama and all that stuff, and then they already know that that's not where the perfect people are. Guess what? There's none out there except for, Jesus. So, and I get a squirrel looking down at me. Don't look down at Starlight. So, you got to really pay attention to words, of course. And what I've learned throughout my life is people that lie a lot, they must have bad memories, because they could, they tell so many people so many lies, they end up forgetting who they told. And that's how I caught a lot of people lying, is they lied so much. There's people that lie so much, they believe their own lies. They said the story so many times, after a while they start believing their own shit. So you got to really watch out in this world and protect yourself. And I used to think that, I'm going to just trust everyone until they give me a reason why I can't trust them. But that is so backwards now. I didn't think of it, the way I look at it now. And the way I look at it now is, I don't trust you. You gotta prove yourself to me now. Just like even relationships. How many times do people get in, they have they want to have a relationship with someone. And so, like I told my son is, you want to spend time with her, the girl that he was courting, spend time with her, even at her family's. See what comes out of her mouth, what is she talking about? Is she talking bad about the people in her life? And of course we all have family stories that, we want to be honest and real with people. And that, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about, the horrible stuff that people say about people when they're not around, and they don't wish them well. They don't want to see them get better. It's just drama and gossiping, backstabbing kind of stuff. So that's the kind of stuff, when, they're talking ugly about their family members. We all have stuff, and, that we could say about our family members, and it could all be 100% true. And I'm not talking about those things. I'm talking about the heart space, is where's their heart? And are they an honest person? So honesty really is the best policy, and there's a lot of times, in life that, it is really, that's the best route to go, because God expects us to be honest, and God knows that we're all in a different phase in our life where, you might be working on that. That might be something that you struggled with. You might have came from a family that always lied and stole, or, did different things, and it's something that you're dealing with. So you got to really understand how important it is. God will reward you. And, a lot of times we lie. If we do lie, it's because we fear of what the consequences are going to be. If I lie, if I get caught, or if I did something wrong and I lie about it, I'm hoping that I'm going to get away with it so I don't get in trouble. Who stole the cookie from the cookie jar? You got like 5 kids and a dad and a mom. Where even though you got a dad and a mom and 5 kids, you got, we'll say 3 sons and 2 daughters, it's sad to say, there's many times, whether you believe this or not, that the parents could be the ones that ate the cookie from the cookie jar. Oops, I didn't know those cookies were going at school, and now you're 1 cookie short. Now it blew the whole thing. Now, like, was it really the kids that did it, or was it one of the parents that did it? The one that baked them, the one that knew that, I made this many cookies. We already ate this many cookies. This batch here was for the family. This batch here was for school. They got, say, 24 kids. I'm going to just use 24, and now there's not 24 cookies. There might be, like, maybe they took a couple cookies. Now there's only 22 cookies. Who stole the 2 cookies? Where did they come from? It could have been 2 people. It could have been 1 person. So who did it? And most of the time, the parents are going to automatically, the one that made all those cookies, went and got all the ingredients, made them, could think that one of the kids did it. Did one of the kids do that? Maybe they didn't do it. Isn't that screwy? Yeah, that is screwy. There's many times where the adults, the parents, or could even be somebody that came and visited at the house, that, hey, there's cookies, and, they were in and out of the house and left, and, they have the key, they can come in and go, and they're like, wow, look at that, there's some cookies, I'll just take a couple, they won't mind, and leave. And then you got the whole family there, and they're trying to figure out, it's like the case of the 2 missing cookies, now they're going to have to call the cops, find out, somebody stole 2 cookies out of this cookie jar, who was it? So to tell who's really lying, it's the energy, is, not just the words. People could say all kinds of stuff and to convince you that, they didn't do something, but it's the actions, and I'll tell you, my family, we went through so much growing up about thieves and lying, so Starlight was a thief and a liar growing up, so I know a lot about thieves and liars, because of growing up in a lifestyle like that. So how are you going to tell if somebody that you meet off the street, if they're being honest? Are they being honest with you, or are they fibbing? How about somebody that you just met and you want to get to know them, and you're interested in them, and they tell you everything about themselves, but you don't know, is that really who they are, and is that what they're about? So, and it takes time. That's why it's so important not to rush into relationships, because it takes time for people to really take off the mask and be really themselves. So, that's why it's best not to just believe everything that somebody says because they say it. And not to even, there's a lot of people that do this, is that they're like, well, my friend or somebody that you might know might go, well, my friend or my brother or my relative says that they're a good person. And you got to be careful with that, is that they might not know him that well, and that now you're going by somebody else's, experience, life experiences, with that person. And what if this person hasn't been around them enough to really know if they're telling the truth or not? And now you're gonna just like, well, because my brother or my family member says that you're an honest person, it doesn't mean that they are an honest person. So you got to really pay attention to your, not just the body language or the words and the actions that they, what kind of actions do they have. It's that energy behind it all. And that's why you want to listen to your intuition, your gut. When people talk and speak, does something feel odd or off? When it's good to really, when you're trying to figure out who did something, is to, you can talk about something and just bam, out of the blue, they don't even see it coming, just directly, just like bam, ask them that question and see how they respond. You don't want to really let them know that you're going to ask them the question. That way they can't get prepared, for that. And you just catch them off guard. And there's times that when you do that, you're going to feel their energy off their body. They could be telling you, no, I didn't do that. No, I've been, like if a guy was going to accuse a lady of cheating, and if he says, hey, I got to talk to you later on, well, that gives them time to adjust. They're like, oh no, does he know that I've been going out with his friend? We've been sneaking around, and, I realized, wow, he's kind of a handsome guy, and we've been, like kissing, and, people can pick up energy, and they might feel something's kind of weird and something's feeling off because they're listening to their gut. I actually talked to somebody not too long ago, and, I wasn't doing anything wrong, but when the guy was, I was actually helping a male out one time because he was helping me to understand how to order Mexican food. And, he had his wife was home. I didn't know this guy. All he was doing is helping me to order Mexican food because the lady didn't speak English and I didn't speak Spanish, but I wanted to order Spanish food. Well, his wife, we ate at a table talking about spiritual stuff, and that's all it was. And it's kind of funny. His wife called him up and said, who are you talking to? And he goes, wow, how did she do that? She, even though she wasn't there, she knew somehow or another that he was taking longer than it should have taken. But she wasn't stupid. She understood there was something was feeling off to her, even though they weren't even in the same room, in the same space. And he goes, wow, he wasn't doing anything wrong. It's all talk about spirituality stuff, and so his wife knew because she sensed the energy in that, because she's connected to her husband. So that is amazing how people can do that. And I've had this happen to me many times in my life where, people could be, you could be in a room with family members or even at work or even at church, and then you leave the room, and then somebody said something negative about you or said something about you or whatever, and you didn't know it, but when you came back, the energy was beautiful and everything was good and calm. When you come back, you're like, it got really freaking quiet, didn't it? It got so freaking quiet. And the energy was off. And you're like, huh. Earlier, the energy was good. Now it's, I feel kind of odd. I feel out of place. I feel uncomfortable now because somebody was saying something. You might not know what they were saying, but you know that, somebody said something. There's many times at church or with family or friends, parties, wherever you go, there might be somebody out there, that have a jealous spirit. They might even know you. Like if you were guilty of something, and they've been trying to figure out who did it, and there could be people talking behind your back, and like, she did it, Starlight did it. I'm like, I did not do it. you know, and you can sense that energy. You can sense it in that room. And I had, so even like where I am right now, I actually cleaned up the whole bedroom, got it, vacuumed the floor, had my bed made, everything it's in its place, and it's beautiful. Now, when you open up the door, it's a certain beautiful energy in that space, and I got my crystals going on in there. Now I open up another room, and the energy is not the same as when you open up my room. You open up this room, and when you walk, you can feel the energy. The energy is different. I just got my grandson to clean his room. You know what? Before it was messy. He's a boy, you know? So when I help him out, like getting some, cleaning products to dust off his stuff, the next time he goes in there, it's going to have a beautiful energy. It's going to have a clean energy. It's going to feel great. Now, if you go into a dirty room, a room that's dusty and things are messy, when you open that door, it's a different energy. And that is the same when somebody's lying to you or talking behind your back. You're going to pick up that something was, everything was cool earlier. And what happened when all I did was go out to my car and come back in. And the energy shifted. Something was being said. You don't know what, but it got quiet. Normally that's what happens. People get quiet. And you can feel that energy, even though you don't understand. And so that is really, energy never lies. So you got to pay attention to that energy. Like I said, you could be getting to know someone, and they could really try to convince you, yes, I love hiking. You like animals? Yeah, I like animals too. Oh, you like plants? Oh, I like plants too. And people do. They jump into relationships too quick. I was like that most of my life, but later on, when I started going to church in 95, I slowed right the blank down. Now, I've been single for a long time, and I can't say I'm single right now, but, it takes time to get really to know someone, even like with friendships and stuff like that. So don't be in such a rush to hurry up and get to know someone. Take some time, slow down, and really get to find out more about that person. Just because somebody says something to you, it doesn't mean that they're being honest with you. You gotta really, pay attention to their energy, pay attention to their actions. Are they, proven that they are being honest, or is it just all talk? Because that's how a lot of relationships don't work out later on, is because somebody wasn't being honest and they got in a relationship, and then they found out 5 years later on, that they were just saying everything that they wanted the other person to believe about them, and it was just to try to get into that relationship, and it didn't work out because they weren't being real and honest with them. So anyway, I love you so much, is to don't pay all the attention to the words that people say. They could say all kinds of stuff to make you think that they're being real and being real with you and being honest. It's the actions and their energy. Pay attention to all that stuff, and don't be in such a quick rush to be somebody's friend or to be in that relationship. So anyway, I'm holding this space up. It doesn't matter, because no matter what, I would have been if I was at this bench. So anyway, I love you so much, is really take time, slow down, listen to what they say, pay attention to their actions and their energy. I love you so much. This is Starlight. You could give this video a thumbs up. You could subscribe to my YouTube channel. Plus, you can leave me a message down below, beep, 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 and you could share my videos with your family, your friends, crickets, and some birds. Plus, you can follow me on Instagram at 1995 Starlight, or on Facebook, and that is Kathy with a K, Dingman Starlight. I love you all, and that's the truth. Action speaks louder than words. Don't just pay attention to what they say. Wait these things out. They like hiking? Say, come on, let's go hiking. Test them out. See how You like animals? Bring them out there. Bring them out in nature. You know, test them out, really. Test them to the core. Like, oh, you eat healthy. Let's go. Let's see how they eat, you know. You say this and you say that. Like, test them out. Really. Don't just think that that's what they're about, is that you got to really test these people out just like God does with us. God, we're tested all the time, you know. So anyway, I love you. This is Starlight. Namaste. This is Starlight. Love, light, and peace.